I've been trying to avoid the AI story because I've done so many of them in a row, but I can't help myself because when I see another story about it, I have to discuss it. In this particular case, or story, is from the Wall Street Journal, and it's why workers in their 40s are going back to school. And what I found interesting about this is why these workers are going back to school. Some make sense, very few, but the rest, I left scratching in my head, wondering, you know, do people really understand what they're doing and what's going to happen with AI? And I don't think that they do. I did a story before this one about teachers using quote unquote software to detect AI. Well, it's AI detecting AI, and how grossly inaccurate it is, and how school systems are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this so-called software, which is basically ChatGPT and Gemini wrapped up into a package to try and determine whether or not a student's work is written by AI. And it's once again just goes to show you how AI is just simply not being used or treated in the way that it should be. It is such the Wild West now that people are taking advantage of others. And the thing that annoyed me the most is the amount of taxpayer dollars that are going through these companies or going to these companies to purchase this software. You want to sell the software to wherever, go ahead and sell it to wherever, to the private industry or private market. Don't sell it to people who end up having to fund it like you and me in our property taxes to go and give it to a company. And they themselves even say that they're grossly inaccurate when it comes to determining whether or not AI is being used in these papers. But in this particular story, this one is crazy too, because once again, the tough job market and the threat of artificial intelligence are leading to some radical career changes. And I'm going to go into this, but the radical career changes that these people are making are going into careers that AI is going to end up taking. So I just, after reading the article, I'm scratching my head and I'm going, this is scary, because once again, everyone is determining AI based on hearsay, just like most people determine everything in the world because they're too lazy to do their own research. They're too lazy to go beyond what they hear on TV and what they're being told on TV, not going in and researching it, not going in and understanding it, not understanding what prompts are, not understanding how AI works. Just do some basic research on your own to understand this is how it works, and this is how you can avoid pitfalls, especially life-changing pitfalls in this particular case, just by just doing a little bit. But I'll go through the article and we'll discuss it. But it's tough to go back to school in your 40s, but with layoffs, stagnant pay, and inroads by artificial intelligence, many of those nearing midlife are heading back to classrooms and trade schools. And we've seen this before, where people were going back to school. And years ago, maybe a decade or so ago, or even more, when AI wasn't really part of the conversation, it made more sense to go back to school and maybe get some additional degrees. But I can tell you that based on firsthand knowledge, that even people with advanced degrees during the times of these major changes in the employment market, people with PhDs weren't able to get jobs. Some are making radical career changes, going from chef to software engineer. This one, by the way, chef to software engineer, is probably the biggest scratch your head deal, and I'll talk about that later because they'll go into more detail in this article. Others are getting higher degrees to stand out from peers as qualification standards intensify. Some who skip college after high school return to the classroom because they can't get top jobs without degrees. And I will remind you that a lot of these jobs are going to be replaced by AI. Returning to school isn't easy. Those in their 40s often have to juggle work, family, and academics. They take on new debt when peers are entering peak earning years. The average cost of an in-state public college is about $30,000 a year, and much more for private nonprofits. For many, it's worth it. People are living longer and aren't retiring at 65. Not everybody. Cindy Woody earned her master's at 41 and completed her doctorate at 47. I'm a good investment, says Woody, an assistant professor of educational leadership at the University of Texas at Tyler. Longevity, she says, runs in her family. Her great-grandmother lived to almost 100. I know a lot of people in my family that lived to 100 and a lot of people that didn't even live close to that. Woody worked full-time while going to school, quit watching TV, and handed off housework to family members. How nice. While she attended in-person classes at night and on Saturday. She wrote papers between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. or on Sunday afternoons. I wonder if she used AI. More than 1 million people in their 40s are enrolled in undergraduate or graduate programs, according to the National Center for Educational Statistics. Many are looking to make more money in the white-collar world and have greater job security, even at a time when many younger people are questioning the value of a college degree. There is a reason younger people are questioning the value of a college degree. I'm going to tell you why. Cindy Woody, who is 50, give or take, doesn't understand AI like a younger kid who sees the writing on the wall related to AI. Time and time again, polls tell you that the younger generations do not respect the college degree because they see that the AI is going to end up replacing them anyway. And I don't think that this was mentioned in this article because I'm not so sure that the person writing this article understands that either. When you say white collar, it depends on what that is. Because even the law and even finance, CPAs, those types of things, and this isn't just me saying it, it's a lot of people who understand AI. And I can certainly agree with them because when you look at how powerful it is now, it gets a lot of stuff wrong, but it is rapidly, minute by minute, improving. I mean, the speed at which AI is improving is mind-blowing. And so it would be crazy of anyone to say that AI will not replace a number of these white-collar jobs, especially complex ones, where there's not physical labor involved necessarily. And even the ones with physical labor are at risk. So I highlighted that skilled trade and apprenticeship programs, which can cost as little as $3,000 a year, are seeing an influx too, in part because those jobs are seen less vulnerable to automation and artificial intelligence. Leaky pipes need plumbers. So in a half-baked way, this author is actually acknowledging the reality. This is a smart person going to the skilled trades. Number one, they're paying less. Number two, their jobs are less likely to be taken, or they have a longer time frame before robots come in and take over. But if you see the Tesla robots, you see their dexterity, you see what they're capable of now. Give it 5 to 10 years, and they'll be able to, make watches. And that's when we're going to be in a serious dilemma. But right there is the crux of the deal. So you have people who are going back to school spending tens of thousands of dollars in order to get advanced degrees in things that artificial intelligence are already taking over. And they're going to, and as it gets more advanced, it's going to be much quicker. They're going to take it over. But these skilled trades and apprenticeship programs, these types of things like plumbers and stuff like that, where you need your hands, you're doing those types of things. At least there's some more longevity to that. 1/4 of the 108 students enrolled in a Pennsylvania job training program are in their 40s learning plumbing, carpentry, construction, healthcare, and other skills. Many have either lost jobs or want better pay. This year, we've seen more layoffs and closures, says Erica Mulberger, Executive Director at Advanced Central, a PA, a nonprofit local workforce development board. One student, Victoria Minor, 48, enrolled in a 4-year butcher apprenticeship program, learning to process meat products according to USDA standards. I seem to remember a story that many of these places were shut down for various reasons that I won't go into because, of course, it would be politically incorrect. However, many people, I guess, or should know what it is that I'm talking about. So this is interesting. And this is also going to be a transition to where people like Victoria Minor are going to be going back into these trades that were taken over by those from other countries. And so I think you're going to see somewhat of a transition there. There's going to be a lot of hurt because, it's going to, these companies are going to have to pay the salaries that they should have been paying all along to the appropriate people like Victoria Minor. But even so, she raises cattle. She felt the need to take training that to get taken seriously in a male-dominated industry. So her certification led to a job offer as a USDA inspector, which is less physically demanding than butchering and can extend her career. At this stage of my life, using my brain instead of brawn is a better fit for me. A lot of these people are close to 50 years old. I mean, this is crazy. It's not just like they say they're 40s, but they're almost 50. Degrees and certificates. This other guy, I believe, is too. Degrees and certificates lend credibility. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure of that anymore. Kevin Corenthal skipped college after high school, but worked his way up to leadership roles in the nonprofit world. Top executive positions, though, remained elusive. Is another problem I have. It's really hard to get those roles without a degree, no matter how capable you are, says Corenthal. He returned to school in his early 40s for an associate degree in digital media, followed by a certification for association executives. He did both while working full-time and raising 2 kids. Okay, I want to go back to why he couldn't get these jobs. HR. Which is also going to this is the one that I can't wait for to get replaced by AI. This guy, Kevin Corenthal, is more than capable, based on his experience, than any college graduate. Make it make sense to me, anyone in human resources, that a guy like this, who's been doing it year after year after year, and worked his way up in the nonprofit world, cannot get into an executive position without having a degree that would really essentially teach him nothing that he learned through his actual career. Make that make sense. This, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why AI is the best way to level the playing field for everyone. Because people are the ones that are the problem in HR. That is why you have companies that fail. That is why you have companies that put out job postings that half of them are fake. That is why the job reports suck. That is why companies are not making money. People are getting laid off. The human resources is the problem. And this guy, Kevin Corenthal, is the prime example of why we have a problem in the world today when it comes to hiring and firing and trying to get a job. So this guy has to now spend a bunch of money for a degree that he does not need. But to satisfy some dipshit in HR, he has to go and do that. Afterward, he found an online program at Indiana University designed specifically for late life learning to get his bachelor's in nonprofit leadership. And by the way, the other thing is these schools are making money. I mean, again, just use common sense. People are profiting off this guy's misery and other people's misery. So I got to go back and I got to spend more money on something that I've learned that cannot be replaced. No college degree is going to replace what this guy Kevin learned over the years. He could be a teacher himself, and he should do that. That's what a lot of these people should do. I hope what they do is go into teaching themselves and help. And this is one of the things that I would encourage a lot of people to do. Somebody like this guy who has the knowledge that he has can go and create a course or a program or a certification and help other people learn at a reasonable rate, a reasonable price. Learn all the things that he knows so then that person can get certified and go on and do what it is that he does. Who needs a lousy college degree? Because some asshole in human resources said that's what you have to have. Cost is often an obstacle, of course, but this is what it's designed to do, to bleed you dry. In the middle class, destroy the middle class. That's what this is all about. Melissa Harkin, a successful freelance translator, already had a master's in law degree from her native Brazil. She decided she needed a diploma from a university in the US or Europe to get hired at an American company, once again because of HR. She's got masters in law degrees from Brazil. There's no reciprocity. Cost her 50 grand. She found a similar program in University of Birmingham for 22. Still ridiculous. It's a brand new car. Well, it's not even, cars don't cost that much anymore. It'd be a used trash car now. While taking classes remotely, she also took an 8-week course at Harvard for a higher education teaching certificate for about $3,000. That's probably more realistic. Okay, you get a certificate for a reasonable amount of $3 grand. That should be good enough. At one point, Harkin, again, 45, mid-40s, approaching 50, realized she hadn't left her apartment in 2 months. She missed her son's swimming and jiu-jitsu lessons. At 40, with a family, if you put the time in and do it right, it means missing out on other things. She now works at InnoData, designing training and assessment materials for large language model artificial intelligence projects. She calls the 2 education programs her best investment in the last 3 years. We'll give it time. She might change her mind on that. Others want a new career because the profession they love in their 20s and 30s didn't offer benefits, pay, and stability they needed. Well, I could tell you that what she's doing with LLMs, large language models, translation, ChatGPT, Gemini, and others are examples of large language models. Ultimately, do you know what these things are doing now? They're programming themselves. If you read enough articles on this stuff like I have, you'll learn that eventually people who do this, that she's doing, designing training and assessment materials, is going to be done by AI. So these are the things that, people need to, before they spend all this money and go into this stuff, you really need to pay attention to and research. Because are you jumping out of the frying pan into the fire kind of thing? Or you're spending all this money? I mean, the schools aren't going to tell you, hey, wait a minute, you need to cool off here because you're in this situation. You're going to be getting in a job in AI. No, they don't care. They're going to take your money. So you have to be careful with what you get into. This one's an interesting one because, again, it's another example of a problem. LaToya Hall, chef for an upscale catering company, was on her feet all day, working unpredictable hours and moving heavy food trays for weddings and bat mitzvahs. During a camping trip, she decided to go back to school. By the time she arrived home, Hall had applied for an 18-month software engineering and web development associate degree program at New England Institute of Technology. I knew I needed a change and felt ready, says Hall, a 40-year-old single mother of 2. She told her She sold her car to save money and took 3 buses to get to classes, leaving at 5:30 a.m. to make a 7:45 a.m. class. This is sad. Hall landed an internship on school, which turned into a full-time job with AAA as a digital content producer. She received grants and scholarships, but has about $40,000 in loans from her culinary school and the associate degree. I plan to return at some point for my bachelor's degree, she says. So she went into software engineering and now is a digital content producer. And you know what I'm going to say next. The digital content production. I mean, look at Nano Banana, look at Kling. If you don't know what those are programs that McDonald's, I didn't do a video on this, but I think I will. McDonald's hired a company that did an entire commercial. It was controversial because it wasn't that good. And plus, it was crapping on Christmas. But anyway, it was an entire commercial that was done by AI. Now, it was difficult to make primarily because, again, you have to prompt, you have to do a lot of these prompts and things like that. But again, as AI progresses minute by minute, day by day, all you're going to have to do is put in the proper prompts and you're going to be able to create a commercial in 5 seconds. You're not going to need to hire anybody to do it. And so once again, I can understand her leaving the food industry, but the food industry is going to be more difficult to replace with AI than digital content creation by far. So she's now in debt and, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's inevitable. There's no doubt in my mind that those things are going to change. So those are some interesting examples. Let me know what you think. My opinion is the education industry's done. I hope more than anything that human resources, everybody gets fired from that. As far as I'm concerned, they're the enemy of productivity. They're the enemy of everything that is good in free market capitalism. And human resources is the reason companies cannot survive. They are the reason why companies are inefficient. They get all the wrong people, and everybody suffers monetarily, educationally, every possible way that you can imagine. HR is the enemy of business, and I hope that it happens faster than we can comprehend that those departments ultimately get eliminated and AI replaces them. And at least there that it can be programmed to be more fair. Because let me know what you think about this. If you have the experience over 20, 30 years in a career and you're going to make a parallel move, but HR is not going to hire you because you don't have a degree, F you. Let me know what you think about that, if you agree with that or not. But that's disgusting, in my opinion, that somebody has to go into debt and start all over again when they already have the knowledge and the expertise through their career. That just also goes to show you that someone in human resources wouldn't know that, because they wouldn't understand a career like this guy Rosenthal or Korenthal. So let me know if you agree with that or not, and leave comments in the comment section, and also check out our links in the description as well. See you later.